So not the typical unboxing you see on my channel. Typically I do a lot of Japanese unboxings just because I love like Megabass and OSP and Jackal. Typically I don't really kind of unbox this sort of stuff unless I go to Bass Pro Shops, and even at that I'm buying like Megabass or Lucky Craft lures at Bass Pro Shops. But one of my favorite YouTubers is DEBO'S Fishing, and when I heard he was coming out with a limited edition box, I had to jump on it. And I got it at a really good deal. I got it when this was on sale, so I believe this box here was only $30, and typically it would have been $50, I believe. But I am super excited to see what is in DEBO'S box. And according to DEBO, he was able to hand pick everything that's in this box, and he said he stands by everything that he put in this box. He uses everything that's in here. But before we get into this unboxing, if you guys are just curious who won the giveaway, I'm going to be announcing the winner at the end of this video. So if you just clicked on this video to see who won this limited edition Megabass lure, just kind of skip to the end of this video. If you guys are genuinely curious what's in DEBO'S box, then just stick around. I think this should be a pretty interesting box. Oh, look at that. DEBO'S box is hairy. So I actually don't remember what's in this box. I know DEBO made a video where he went over everything in the box, but I really don't remember. I remember a couple of the hard baits that are in here. So almost everything in here is gonna be a surprise. But let's kind of open it together here. Okay, so right off the bat, there are some hard baits, and I think I'm gonna save going over some of the hard baits for last. And underneath these hard baits, there are some soft plastics and some hooks. So I think what I'm gonna do is start out with the soft plastics here and then move on to the hard baits. Now starting off, these are the Z-Man TRD craws. These are 2.5 inches long, and these are in green pumpkin color. And in my opinion, green pumpkin is just a great overall color to get when you're not sure if you're fishing clear water. Green pumpkin's good. If you're fishing dirty water, green pumpkin is good. And this is what it looks like out of the package. Just a little finesse craw. And the cool thing about Z-Man is it's super elastic like this, so the durability gonna be super strong. And it's made with an Elastec plastic. At least that's what Z-Man calls it. That's why it's so elastic. But just super great durability with these baits. And with this bait here, I would be throwing this on a little Ned rig. My preferred little Ned head is from Trokar. And just because I can buy this at my local Bass Pro Shops, that's really the only reason why it's my favorite. But I really like the chartreuse jig heads for smallmouth. And that is what I would be using these little Z-Man TRD cross for, are smallmouth. But as you guys can tell with these Trokar little Ned heads, this particular one is 1/10 of an ounce. But it has this little keeper here. And that keeper there is perfect to keep your bait weedless. But if you don't want to rig it weedless, which I'm about to do it right now, I'm not going to rig it weedless, this keeper here is going to keep your bait on that hook just as well. So let's rig it on here. And there you go. All rigged up. A nice little finesse craw here. But I'm a big fan of these chartreuse jig heads. Not just for smallmouth either. I specifically like using them for smallmouth, but I've caught largemouth on these jig heads just as well. But that's a cool first soft plastic. Moving on to Strike King KVD Perfect Plastics. This is the Rodent, I believe it's called. Yep, the Rodent. This is the 3-inch size and in crawfish color. And crawfish color is just a black with a little bit of an orange swirl, which actually represents the crawfish in my area quite well. This is what the bait looks like up close. You can put this on a Texas rig, use it as a jig trailer. You can punch with it, because as you guys can tell, this is a very cylindrical body, pretty streamlined. So if you wanted to punch with it too, you could even just rip off these appendages right there, and it would really cut through that grass really easily. Judging by the way these claws are, these are not gonna be kicking like a rage craw would be. These are gonna be more of a flapping style. Now this is what I smelled when I picked up the Debo box, was this super strong garlic smell, and it's coming from this Lake Fork. Now this is a super interesting bait. Here is just a super versatile, a super versatile Senko style bait. You can put it on a shaky head, drop shot, Carolina rig it. Like, you can really do anything you want with this bait. Texas rig it, you could wacky rig it. And another thing too, which is a little bit unorthodox, but when I saw this bait here, I thought it would be kind of cool to use it as a chatterbait trailer. It might sound a little silly at first, and you could totally be right. It might be a little bit silly. Hear me out. I think what would be cool is not use this as a chatterbait trailer as is, but take a pair of scissors and as carefully as you can, take your pair of scissors and just cut down the center of this bait. And I kind of just want to make sure not to cut off to one side or the other, and it's gonna take a second or two to get down about 1.5 inches, but oh, perfect. So now what you're left with is a ring fry, but it's split up top here. Now I think this would actually be a super cool chatterbait trailer, because in my unprofessional opinion, you can use literally whatever you want for a chatterbait trailer, but some do work slightly better than others. And in my opinion, you kind of want a chatterbait trailer not gonna have a lot of action on its own. You kind of want to have the chatterbait give the action to the trailer. Because the blade on a chatterbait is moving super fast at the head of the bait, you really don't want a bait like a paddle tail that has a slow kick on the back as a trailer, just because that's gonna work against each other. Having like a no action bait like this on its own on the back of the chatterbait, I think will be perfect. But just kind of ignore the color combination. But this is kind of just what I mean. I think with this blade making the bait chatter underneath the water, I think having this kind of cut tail will have the action that I want. Now, I don't know why I just thought of that when I picked up the ring fry, but I'm probably not gonna end up Texas rigging this. I'm probably either gonna end up wacky rigging it or just using it as a chatterbait trailer, because I really do think that this will catch fish come springtime. I need to go wash my hands. Now, sticking with that chatterbait trailer theme, Debo threw in these big bite baits. Ooh, one of my lights just went out. These big bite baits, kamikaze swim-ons. Let me fix that light. Now this bait here is 4 1/4 inches, and the color is called Smoky Gold, and it's gonna have a little bit of scent on there, a little bit of licorice scent, but again, as a chatterbait trailer, I think this is going to be perfect. You can throw this on a Texas rig and it'll work no problem. You can even drop shot this if you really wanted to, and it'll catch some fish for you. But I really think this bait excels as a chatterbait trailer. Because this bait is not going to have very much action, if any action at all, underneath the water, that chatterbait is really going to give this bait that action, and that is what I am looking for. Now, moving on to the last soft plastic he put in. This is a Rage Tail, I don't even remember the name, Cut Our Worm. This is a ragetail cut-R worm. And when I saw this bait here, I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I'm going to throw this on a Nico rig. This bait here is 6 inches, and it's in DEBO'S favorite color, Tequila Sunrise. And this Tequila Sunrise has some orange fleck in it too, which I think is perfect. I think that orange fleck color already makes a good color even better. But what you do is just separate it from that little piece of soft plastic right there. And this bait is just gonna cut back and forth through the water as you reel it in. But that is not how I'm gonna use this bait. I'm gonna be Nico rigging this bait. So I'm just gonna be kind of hopping it along the bottom, and I'm gonna be letting the current kind of twirl this bait and do its thing. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the Nico rig, I'll show you real quick what the Nico rig is. Now, I will be honest with you, VMC is not my favorite brand. That's not why I have 2 VMC packages. It's just a coincidence I picked 2 VMC, but got the Nico hook, and then I have the Finesse Nico hook. We're gonna be looking at the Finesse Nico hook today. And the cool thing about these Finesse Nico hooks from VMC is they do have that tiny wire keeper there, just to help keep your bait on that hook a little bit better. And I don't know if I can show this real well, but it's like an offset hook right there. Not only is this hook good for Nico rigging, what I'm about to show you, but this hook is actually really good for drop shotting too, believe it or not. With this straight shank here, if you use like a 6-inch robo worm or something on this bait, the long shank here is going to keep your robo worm straight and horizontal in the water, and give you a lot of room for the fish to get hooked. You don't even have to, but if you want to, I would suggest using an O-ring, and just take your worm, kind of shove it down in that hole, and then take one of your O-rings right here. I don't know what that was about, but onto the worm, take the worm out. So as you guys can tell, come on, focus. There's the O-ring right there. And then you want to get a nail weight. And the weight that I choose just depends on if I'm fishing current or depth. The more deep I'm fishing a Nico rig, the heavier the nail weight I'll put in. But now what you want to do is get that nail weight and shove it into the head of your Nico bait. Just like so. And then you want to take your Nico hook. Like I said, guys, it doesn't have to be this VMC Finesse Nico hook. If you guys wanted to, it could even be a wacky rig hook. But the way you hook this is actually very important. That you take your hook point and rig it away from the head of your bait towards the tail. Because the weight is going to be in the head of the bait, it's going to be hopping along the bottom like this. So you want this hook point to be facing up like that. So when the fish come and bite down right there, they automatically just hook themselves, and you just have to reel into them. I don't wacky rig these. I don't put these on like a Texas style rig or anything like that. This bait here with this tail, I think this bait just excels as a Nico rig bait, and Nico rig bait only. But if you want to throw this on the back of a chatterbait, it'll work too. If you just want to cast this out and just straight retrieve it back to you, that'll work too. If just straight retrieving this works for you, then keep doing what you're doing, but I'm just going to show you guys what I use and what I like to do with the baits. I just have the hard baits and the terminal tackle left, and so far so good with these baits here. I actually really like the baits so far that Debo put in his box. A lot of these baits are really, in my unprofessional opinion, technique specific baits, and that is great in my opinion. Some people might not like that. Like this bait here, I'm only going to be rigging this as a Nico rig, but I'm perfectly alright with that. I think that's cool. And this bait here, I'm only going to be using as a chatterbait trailer, but I'm perfectly alright with that. I think that's cool as well. So moving on to the hard baits. I'm actually not going to be taking these out of the package, just because eventually I'm going to get a pegboard and these are all going to go up on my wall. And the first hard bait I'm going to be going over with is a red-eye shad from Strike King. Now this bait is 1/2 ounce and the color is green gizzard shad. There's no shad in New Hampshire where I live, but this thing is going to imitate way more than just shad, like a little crappie, little bluegill, little minnow. This thing, even hopping it along the bottom, will imitate a crawfish. And this bait also is rattling as well. And it's 1/2 ounce. I don't know if I said that or not, but 1/2 ounce. Moving on to the next hard bait. It's another Strike King. This is a Sexy Dog, which is just a topwater walking bait, similar to a spook. And this color is called the Shizzle. And just a bait fish color. Kind of like a bone color on bottom, green on top. A perfect all-around color. So in my opinion, DEBO'S doing a very good job in picking the colors. But here's another look at the Sexy Dog. Topwater is one of my favorite ways to catch bass, especially at night. So for him to throw in a topwater bait, I think that's pretty cool. Now moving on to the final hard bait. This is a spinnerbait from Booyah. It's their Covert series. And the color is just white, blue, and chartreuse. They don't really have a name, but it's just like a sexy shad coloring to it. It's got 2 willow blades, 1 silver, 1 gold, and I actually really like that realistic fish head on spinnerbaits. I just love fishing a spinnerbait on cold, windy days. I think a spinnerbait is a great cold water bait. And if you fish for pike as well, I think a spinnerbait is a great pike bait as well. Now moving on to the last thing in the box. These are EWG Ned heads. I don't know if you guys can see that because of the glare. But I actually really like the purple head on these jig heads. At my local Dick's and Bass Pro Shops, they actually don't sell any jig heads that are purple. So I think that's pretty cool that DEBO included these purple jig heads. Now when I said EWG Ned head, EWG, all that means is extra wide gap. Right in here. So it just makes rigging your weedless Ned baits a little bit easier. But I'm sure those TRD Craws from Z-Man would work perfect on these as well. And these Ned heads are 3/16 ounce. So that perfect kind of in-between weight, a good overall weight. But the weight of your Ned head is really going to depend on the depth you're fishing or if you're fishing any current. Now that is it for DEBO'S box, and I'm not entirely sure if you're going to be able to pick up your own DEBO'S box. I went to the Monsterbass website looking for the price of these boxes, and I couldn't actually find DEBO'S box on the website. So I'm not totally sure if you're going to be able to pick up your own box. But either way, I'm actually super happy with the baits that I got with companies like Z-Man and Strike King. Those are some really high quality products. If you guys are unfamiliar with the giveaway that I do every single month, Megabass comes out with a limited edition color every single month. And I do what I can to pick up some limited edition colors. And I give one of those baits away to you guys every single month. Now I've given away 3 so far, and today's going to be the 4th. And this color actually is my favorite color that I've given away so far. This color is called Hakusai Muddy Gory Copper. I know it's a mouthful, but Megabass made this lure specifically to imitate goby. But there's no goby where I live in New Hampshire, but I think this color imitates a smallmouth perfectly. But just a super cool color. Got some spots on the back. And the winner of this month's limited edition lure is Paul Top Notch Fishing. Congratulations, Paul, on winning this. I actually recognize your name. You comment on my videos quite a bit. And all you have to do is email me at nateandersh93@gmail.com or go on my Instagram and send me a message there at nateandersh. And just send me your address or wherever you want me to send this bait. And if you guys didn't win this month, don't feel discouraged, don't give up or anything like that. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this every single month, and I actually already have the next limited edition bait. I just need to film that video. One more thing too, I just want to thank everyone for saying happy birthday to my dog. And I come out with videos every single week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Peace.